Terrifier 3, the new Christmas slasher film and the third in the Terrifier franchise, written and directed by Damien Leone, starring David Howard Thornton and Lauren Lavera. I just got back from the theater and seeing this tonight, and I gotta say, this cements Art the Clown as a slasher icon. We're gonna get into the good, the bad, and the gory tonight with Terrifier 3. Welcome back to Fright Club 2024 on the Ectoviolence channel. My name is Alec. Tonight we're talking Terrifier 3. I gotta say, I'm definitely a late bloomer with the Terrifier franchise. I only saw the first two movies this year, and of course I picked up Terrifier 2 on VHS. I gotta say right off the bat, this one is competing for that first place spot with Terrifier 2. And let's start with the positives of Terrifier 3. And with that, we'll start with the cast and characters. Of course, we're gonna start with David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown. So far, this is my favorite performance. This is the first time I've actually laughed at some of the things Art the Clown is doing. Normally, I'm just kind of sickened and like, yep, I get it, this is the bit. There were several times I actually laughed out loud watching this at the theater. Lauren Lavera back as Sienna Shaw, another great performance from her. Honestly, she saved Terrifier 2 for me. And obviously, this is a much different vibe. The character is very different, is going through a lot. Elliot Fulham is back as Jonathan. I see a lot of people criticizing his performances and stuff, but to me, it just seems like a meek kid, you know? He's playing it well. I don't know. But he definitely has a lot less screen time in this movie. His story is more intertwined with just being supportive to Sienna's story. Vicky is back and plays a much larger role in this movie. I mean, she's not in like every scene or anything, but still quite a big character in this movie. Talk about some of the extra roles and cameos. Daniel Roebuck. Okay, so this guy, I recognize him from River's Edge and Final Destination. In River's Edge, he plays a guy who kills his girlfriend, and in Final Destination, he's one of the cops who's interrogating Devon Sawa and following him around. And in this, he plays a Santa Claus hanging out at a bar drinking. Then you also have a short cameo from Tom Savini. I won't go into exactly what it is. Pretty funny, though. Clint Howard as well. Nice to see him in anything. If you're a movie fan, especially B movies and horror movies and anything in general, I think people know who Clint Howard is now, right? And my personal favorite of these surprise new roles is Jason Patric. Now, I've actually got the chance to interview Jason Patric before. I just wouldn't stop bringing up Speed 2 Cruise Control during the interview. Personally, I'm a fan. He's a real nice guy, too. Awesome to see him in this. Just legendary. Now let's talk about some of the kills, the gore, the effects. This movie starts out with a bang. You know, we were hearing that there were going to be possible deaths of children in this movie. If that kind of thing bothers you, steer clear. Just seeing Art the Clown walk around in that Santa Claus outfit, amazing. I love Christmas horror movies. You know, Jack Frost, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Black Christmas, Black Xmas. Big fan of that kind of stuff. There is one of those big elaborate kill scenes towards the middle of this movie again, and I gotta say, out of all of the kills in the Terrifier movies, I think this is the best one for me. It is horrific. It is gruesome. And you're like, is it gonna go there? Yes, it goes there. Just when you're like wondering, I wonder if is this gonna do what I think it's going? Yes, it goes there. Also, another positive, I think this movie it develops into that backstory stuff more, which is kind of what you want. You want slow little bits and pieces here and there every now and then, and you kind of get more of that. I won't explain how exactly because I don't want to spoil everything too much, but Jason Patric is a character that is linked into that story stuff. And we get more of that. We get more of, spoiler alert, the sword from the first movie. You know, it's very interesting, too, the gore and the violence of this movie. So I'm sure by now you've heard about France's classification system on films and what they've done with this movie. It's the first time since Saw 3 that a movie has been rated no one under 18 admitted. I mean, all the way back to The Exorcist, you have movies where it just seems like a marketing bit where they're talking about people throwing up and passing out. I don't know if I buy into all that stuff, but I think it's interesting. It's good marketing still. Now, I try to look at these movies through the lens of a classic slasher movie, how I view the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, the Friday the 13th, Halloween, hell, even Leprechaun, you know what I mean? Child's Play, all this stuff. I try to judge it based on that, and if you do that, I think it's a very strong movie in a comparison to that, because so many of those franchises have just big ups and downs, and no one loves every movie in those franchises. And I would say out of all those that I listed, at least Nightmare on Elm Street's the strongest franchise altogether. Again, I do appreciate how it takes place during Christmas time. Art the Clown, again, in Santa Claus outfit is just a very iconic, cool look, you know what I mean? It's just, visually pleasing to watch this character murder people on screen like that. And there's enough different bits going with Santa Claus and Christmas schemes that it's not overdone. You know, it's not like Black Xmas where they're making flesh cookies and stuff with Christmas shapes. But I think overall the movie was done really, really well. Again, I would compare the music in this more to the music of 2. I know Damien Leone was saying basically that he was trying to mix the style of Terrifier and Terrifier 2 for this one. I would definitely say, you know, you could acknowledge that, but I think this movie also takes things in another new direction, much like 2 did, but for the better, because it feels like an advancement of it. I keep comparing it to these old slasher movies, because that's how I try to view this movie, through that kind of lens. And if I'm doing that, I can see that some of these characters are better than a lot of characters that are in these old slasher movies. I gotta say, I think Terrifier 3 is my favorite of the 3 movies. I don't know if other people are going to like it better than 2. I definitely did. Real quick, I did just launch a Patreon. There's a couple different tiers on there, everything from $1 to $6. You can check that out at patreon.com/ectoviolence. If you're looking for a way to support me, help support the channel, that is definitely the best way you can do it right now. I'm going to start incorporating a thank you card at the end of every video. There'll be exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and photos. Every video that gets uploaded to YouTube will get uploaded to Patreon first as soon as it's done editing, and there'll be a monthly exclusive video on Patreon. So please go check that out at patreon.com/ectoviolence. Now let's talk about the negatives of Terrifier 3, and I don't know if I'm going to have many. So there are a few off-screen kills, but you do get to revisit that and see what the corpse looked like after. There's several interesting things going on. There's lots of different body horror elements. There's all sorts of crazy, weird, new, violent things going on in this movie, and you definitely want to look away a lot. Another negative, I would say the story is like 90% there. The characters are 100% there. The story is 90% there in this movie. There was one spot in particular where I just felt like, oh, is this really happening, or is this a dream for a minute? And then it kind of did like a little bit of a time jump, and there's 2 of the very important characters that are kind of just killed off screen, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? Overall, one of those characters in particular, I think, deserved an on-screen death. I don't know. That is a little nitpicky, but I think this movie was fantastic, so what are you gonna do? Before I rate Terrifier 3, why don't you go ahead and jump in the comments down below, let me know what you think of Terrifier 3 if you've already seen it, or if you're excited to see it. And I'm gonna give Terrifier 3 a 4.5 out of 5 hearts. And that might just be the post-theater love I'm feeling right now for this, and having experienced it there during the holiday season, you know. But I had a really good time with it, and I look forward to watching it again over the holidays in the future. If you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.